Hello and welcome to Follow the Money. I'm Robert San. Here we uncover the stories and strategies of how money really moves. And today we're joined by Mr. Sammy Lim. He's the Director for Tourism, Franchising, and Retail of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And we'll be talking about franchising, tourism, and the Filipino business DNA. Welcome to the show, Sir Sammy. Thank you for joining us.
You for inviting me.
Okay. Sir Sammy, let's start with this. Now, how has franchising changed the way Filipinos approach business today?
Well, franchising basically is using other people's money, other people's time, other people's organization. So now a person is able to multiply his number of businesses that he can be engaged in. Okay, you can either have 500 franchisees, and they will be paying you royalties if you're able to develop the franchise program.
Now, Sir Sammy, why do you think so many first-time entrepreneurs are going this route of franchising their businesses on an early stage?
Well, uh, let's get back. Not all businesses are ready for franchising. So they have to go through a survey or a questionnaire that we send to them to see if they're ready for franchise. And there are many things that they have to do, among which basically is to make sure that the operations are consistent and easy to teach. And the bottom line is they must have an operations manual, literally of 160 pages, that a high school graduate can read, because they are the people who will be managing the franchise and not usually the owners.
So basically, managing that you shouldn't really grow too fast. Sometimes the entrepreneurs, when they see that the business booms right away, they want to grow too fast. So you teach them maybe where to go.
And you tell them not to be blinded by the check that they're going to give you for franchising. You have to make sure that you're ready for franchising. If not, a business that's not good is a business that will fail very quickly.
Now, how is the tourist boom here in the Philippines helping franchising businesses grow today here in the Philippines?
Well, wherever we go throughout the country, we want to have some comfort food, comfort place to shop, to buy your daily necessities, to convenience stores, and basic services. You don't want to try something. You want to try a few new things, but basically 80% of the time you want to try something that is branded, that you know of, because you're sure of their delivery of services.
Now, you were saying about food now, sir. Now, what kind of businesses are really working for the franchisee here?
Well, food is the easiest to franchise, but it's also the most competitive. The margin for food is only about 35%. But when you go to services, which is could be spa, hairdressing, nails, fingernails,
It has much higher margins.
you do it about 80%. Anything on services, personal services, is 80% margin.
Between the services market and the product market, which is more capital intensive? And when you give advice to new entrepreneurs who want to go into franchising, what do you usually say to them?
Well, product franchising is expensive because of the inventory. You don't just supply the inventory of the store. You still have enough inventory in your warehouse to supply them. Whereas services is very less, much less dependent on capitalization.
Now, what's one mistake do you usually see from new entrepreneurs going into franchising, and how do you correct them?
The mistake a person a franchise does is he feels that if he gets somebody to buy the franchise, they can go on their own. But precisely, the franchisee pays you a franchise fee so that you can hold their hands and let them operate until they are able to really be successful. And that takes usually a few months of learning.
Now, when we talk about franchising, mostly it's here in Metro Manila. Now, how can we see micro franchising do better and go outside of Metro Manila?
Uh, I have to correct that. No, when franchise started, it's basically from Manila out, but now it is reversed. I would say only 40% of the franchise business are from Manila going out. The 60% are from provinces coming down to Manila. So I would say 30% are coming from North Luzon, South Luzon, another 30% coming from Visayas.
So it's really changed. It started here, but now everything's coming from the province going now into Manila. Why the change?
Well, I think people want something new. In Manila, we see them
Saturated.
saturated, and people want to see something new. And the provincial franchise usually are something exotic and something new.
Now we came from a 2 year, almost more than 2 year of a pandemic. What new opportunities did you see in franchising coming out of the pandemic?
A very interesting thing that happened during pandemic is everybody's at home and they have no business. They're not working, so they create a small business from their home, and from their home they start to I would say franchise, but to expand it to others' community, and that's what franchising is all about. It's expanding from one community to the next. So this homegrown franchise business has become very successful franchise.
Now that we see a lot of those during the pandemic who lost their jobs starting to become entrepreneurs, the small business, what kind of advice do you give them if they want to grow their business and go into franchising?
Franchise is a science and an art, no? So you really have to get it done well. I said the franchise operations manual is something that is most important, but you also have to do the business plan, where the money will be coming from, franchise fee, royalty, marketing fee, management fee, and the legal documents that will make it clear who is going to be responsible for the success of the business. Is it the franchisee or the franchisor? So there will be no misunderstanding. So it's a bit more complicated than that.
So you provide them with a playbook, a guide to make sure that they start properly.
That's right. We give them what we call a franchise development program that takes about 6 months to finish.
6 months? Is that long or can that be shortened?
No, 6 months you'll complete the manual, a complete development program, but in 3 months you can start with the basic core content and start the business already.
So it's really important to start right. Yung mga iba, since they don't really get that kind of guidance, they have somewhere to look to now.
Because they have to understand, if a franchisee failed and they sue you, you will lose much more money than what you got.
I know. Oh yeah, that's a lot of I guess your reputation usually is at stake when you start that, and if you go into franchise, you really have to think about it. Now, Sir Sammy, how can we make franchising more inclusive for small town entrepreneurs?
What the Philippine Franchise Association has done is gone all over the country, from Visayas, Mindanao, and North Luzon, South Luzon, to give precisely the seminar on how to franchise your business, which is basically telling people, to evaluate and to see whether they're franchisable now or they have to do some improvement to be franchising their business. And this is probably just a 3-hour seminar. But we also do that online once in a while. So look at the PFA website for the next upcoming how to franchise your business seminar.
And finally, Sir Sammy, when you look at the next generation of young entrepreneurs who also go into franchising, what gives you hope?
What gives me hope is that a lot of the franchisee now are new graduates. It's either they on their own do not want to go into a job and just get paid. They want to earn money. Number two is their parents, instead of giving them sum of money to start their business, they say, why don't you buy a franchise? Because that is greater rate of success, which has 97% success rate versus going on your own business, which is only 25% rate of success.
Do you think everybody should be in franchising? Their business, whether small or big?
I think so. We're a bit, you know, optimistic. We say from birth to death, we can franchise your business. So from those nurses that give birth, what do you call them? Yeah.
Birth pains.
Yeah. No, the nurse that actually help in delivery of babies up to the mortuary. We are able to franchise.
From start to finish. So that guidance is really from the beginning till the end. That's very good. Mr. Sammy Lim, thank you for joining us. Thank you for the insights. I hope a lot of our new entrepreneurs will be able to learn, especially those who are new, who think that franchising is an easy route. You need a lot of guidance. And of course, the Franchise Corporation and also PCCI is there to help them and guide them. Thank you for joining us here on the show.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for having me. Thank you.
And this afternoon, we're joined with Mr. Ben Bulatao. He's the Chief Operating Officer of Comclar Network and Technology. Good afternoon, Ben. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. Okay, Ben, let's start with this. What's the real story behind the state of connectivity in the Philippines today?
Well, in terms of infrastructure, we have enough infrastructure connecting all the islands. There's 4G and it's already expanding. And satellite, which actually covers all the small islands that cannot be reached by fiber. But the main issue here, the scarcity, is on the distribution.
Yes.
So we have our fiber landing on each island, but on the commercial business districts, I think we are already catching up with our ASEAN neighbors. But in terms of rural areas, there are still some unserved and underserved. So ang problema is that it's more like cost of getting there.
Yes, the cost.
And also the time to be there. But there's already a satellite, which is Starlink low Earth orbit. It actually is very affordable now, and it enables you to reach those far-flung areas.
So what are the biggest struggles that you see in terms of expanding access? Is it technology? Is it cost? Or is it really connectivity and cooperation with other, let's say, corporations doing the same thing?
Well, actually, those three are should be considered, like cost, technology, and cooperation. But cooperation actually opens up access to the technology. We have seen in the past, it's more like the way we execute rolling out infrastructure, especially when some government, and even on the private sector, nagkakaroon ng parang hindi coordinated on how to execute.
Yeah.
Mainly because of how government regulates. But if we can cooperate with the LGUs, with government agencies, the operators, there should be some sort of a pre-development plan. Especially, ng isang struggle namin ngayon is how to get permits and access to common infrastructure. So, but then with the advent of the Konektadong Pinoy, it now actually encourages for shared infrastructure and mostly, if I may emphasize, when we build horizontal infrastructure like roads and highways, kailangan nandun na rin yung mga infrastructure where you put the lines or the conduits, the fiber ducts, access to poles. Ayun ang mga kailangan. And shared infrastructure para mapabilis.
May hindi pa magkakaroon ng problema na when you say shared infrastructure, especially it's a very competitive space also, especially with the big players. Now, if you say shared lines, how will that work?
When you say shared infrastructure, like right now, when you look at the poles, parang spaghetti yung mga kable, di ba? But you can, in other countries, in the first world country, they provide a common infrastructure there where everybody can have access. Kasi when it is not shared, like everybody actually puts up their own, it actually becomes costly. Shared infrastructure provides you with cost efficiencies.
It doesn't necessarily mean shared connectivity.
No, not necessarily. Infrastructure like yung mga middle mile, kung tawagin, you have the backbone. The middle mile to put you in cities and municipalities, and you have the distribution. Ito yung papunta na sa mga bahay at saka mga building. Yung middle mile pwedeng shared na rin yan eh. Actually, what the public don't know is that among the telcos, we actually swap capacities to provide resiliency and backup. We don't need necessarily build another backbone. But for resiliency and redundancy, nagswap na lang kami.
But so in your observation, when we look on the ground, we still have the highest cost in internet packages, and also the slowest in terms of connectivity and fast network. How will the Konektadong Pinoy help that and ease the cost na create greater capacity for faster internet here in the Philippines?
Well, technology and policy should go hand in hand, and there should be like a collaboration or more like cooperation between the private sector and the public sector. Ang isang approach kasi yan dapat yung PPP. We have a problem like private, public and private partnership. I think it's something that we should look into and provide more of that. The Konektadong Pinoy actually mandates that it's going to open up. But then they have to release, I think, the implementing rules and regulation. Part of that is that access to common infrastructure like fiber ducts, pole access. At the same time, there should be what do you call this, fair access to spectrum sa frequency. Kasi one of the fastest way to provide connectivity is wireless. So, but then there should be we should abstract and review on how you charge spectrum users fee. So, and at the same time, we should take a look at it and implement it from a holistic view. So, para i-bring down natin yung cost. And that it will have maging inclusive na rin. Lahat maka-access dun sa technology.
But today, you've been in this industry for quite some time. You've seen the frustrations of people in terms of connectivity. You said if the government has a good communication between the private sector, like a private-public partnership, how do you see it now with Konektadong Pinoy in place? And do you see it really flourishing after this in terms of, you said, shared network, shared infrastructure?
Okay. When you look at the local government code, when you go out there and deploy the infrastructure, you actually, because of the bureaucratic setup right now,
A lot of red tape.
Yes. Hindi lang yun. Kakausapin mo ang barangay captain, kakausapin mo ang LGU, governors and mayors. It's so, that takes a lot of time.
And it takes months.
And it takes months because the local government code, kailangan pati homeowners association. So, if that can be pre-agreed upon prior to that, mabilis ang road.
Nangyayari na ba? Nakakaroon pa ba ng ganyan? Or ngayon pa lang? No dialogue between government and public?
We have dialogues. When you say dialogues or like talking to these local government officers, but we do it one at a time. Pagdating mo ron, very tedious. Pagdating mo ron, kausapin mo to. Ay, hindi, punta ka doon ulit. Di ba? And sometimes, di ba, barangay captains and homeowner, mayroon silang, di ba, like maybe differing opinions. So, nahihirapan, doon nag-delay.
Now, how does Comclark work to be able to provide better service to the Filipinos?
Well, right now, Comclark, we are actually advocating shared infrastructure, and we are now we've already connected we have 20 domestic cable landing stations through our subsidiary, which is Converge ICT, and we have around 5 or 8 submarine cables. So this capacity is not lacking already. It is not a scarcity of technology, but more on rolling out the last mile, the distribution portion,
Which is infrastructure.
part of the infrastructure, because you have the backbone, you have the middle mile, and then the last mile. Last mile being the distribution to the area.
Sir, now do you think with Konektadong Pinoy in place and kung may implement siya properly, magkakaroon talaga ng inclusivity and bababa ba yung cost natin sa internet at bibilis ba compared to our Asian neighbors na ang taas na ng connectivity nila, mabilis at mas mura pa sa atin?
Actually, looking at the Republic Act 12234, diba? That is the Konektadong Pinoy. It actually spells out on how the public sector and the private sector should collaborate and roll out the network. They have to release the implementing rules and guidelines, and it should be fair, it should be friendly also. At the same time, meron sila ng tinatawag na big ones policy. Kasi every time na lang mag-roll out ka, you have to dig the pavement. So big ones policy, you have a common infrastructure, so you have to put your fiber only. And then on the pole access, common na rin yung pole access. You just have to interconnect at the point of interconnection.
Ganun ba yun? Parang ginawa sa BGC, underground na lahat?
Underground, pwede naman gawin.
Kasi may makikita na yung spaghetti sa taas,
Yes,
no?
kasi hazardous pa yun.
Yeah.
It's very hazardous. At the same time, everybody actually, like each telco operator, will have to climb that pole. And when you climb that pole, nai-istorbo mo yung ibang installation. Pag may common infra ka, it would be more more efficient, at the same time mas orderly when you do interconnection.
Now, how do you make sure that connectivity reaches the far-flung areas? Like you said, na hindi sobrang laki ang bayad at baba pa ng speed nila. At talagang total inclusivity talaga.
Yeah, there are so many technologies available. As I said, the LGUs, the other government agencies, and the private sector should talk. And that there should be a pre-planning before rolling out the infrastructure. Kasi pag nagpunta ka doon sa ground, then doon mo lang malalaman yung mga challenges. It becomes costly kasi ang dami mong delay. Isa yung sa mga nagpapadelay sa'yo. But then, if you roll it out in a more efficient manner, dire-diretso lang, mas bababa yan. At the same time, for areas where the market don't want to go or have difficulty in going, magbigay na lang ng incentive. I-subsidize muna ng government. Because minsan kasi ang government nagtitingin
Tulad ng ginagawa nila sa PEZA, right?
cost, sabi nila mas mura. Hindi naman yung mura kasi government should help in the development of the community.
Pag nangyari yun, sir, na yung isang small town, far-flung area becomes very connected, how much of a difference will it make in that town?
It makes a lot of difference because it stabilizes commerce, and then everybody will be connected. They will have access to digital services, especially in the MSMEs. They should look at the internet as something like a profit lever rather than what they call this operational expense. Kasi bibilis ang transaction mo. Your sales cycle mas mabilis. Makakasingil ka. Kasi ang cost ngayon is that when you are offline, you will lose customers, your logistics increases.
Everybody's online now.
Yes. So it's actually a driver for profit.
And halos lahat ng mga Pinoy may cellphone. Kahit sa mga probinsya.
It opens up your access to local market and globally. You can be an active participant in the global economy.
Now today, what kind of innovations that is Comclark doing to be able to, ride the wave or continue to grow in this very competitive industry?
Right now, we are actually employing satellite technology. We have partnership with Starlink, and the price of that has gone very, very cost-effective as opposed to the old technology na talagang very costly. So, Starlink have democratized the access to internet.
Yes.
And it enables you to go to that area where fiber cannot go. But of course, in terms of service talaga, walang makakatalo sa fiber. As much as possible, we should put fiber there. And it's more cost effective because sa satellite, you have to lease and there's a finite life, di ba? Ang fiber, medyo mahaba ang buhay niyan. Can stay there for 50 years.
So talagang the infrastructure is very important. Now, Sir Ben, when you talk to entrepreneurs, what kind of advice do you give them for those individuals or businesses who still think internet is an expense?
As I said, it's actually a profit lever. Because the real cost is when you are offline. Ayun talaga ang problema. Pag ikaw offline,
Pag
you
offline
have
ka.
to be online because everything is there na. And then we are already living in an AI world where everything will be done online as a digital service. We have to leverage this. So take a look at it's already a necessity. It's no longer something that you use for the browse YouTube or social media, but it's a necessity for business.
Now, how do you envision the next, let's say, 5 to 10 years here in the Philippines? Do you think we're going to be really fully connected by then?
Well, it's something that on our actions today, we should forget the past. It's more like, what are we going to do moving forward? The passage of the Konektadong Pinoy is something, if properly implemented with the rules and regulations in place that are friendly, it would actually hasten the connectivity and we'll have an inclusive digital economy. An inclusive digital economy is when a family, their monthly budget can support their internet access, so they will have access to government services, access to health, access to education, and then it actually leverages the playing field for everybody.
And finally, Ben, we always ask this at the end of the show. You just have to fill in the blank. Money is the root of all.
It's so difficult to say.
Usually, the simple answer is money is the root of all evil. But for you, for somebody in the industry,
Money is a very great instrument. It's how the people use it. It's the great instrument. You can use it for good, you can use it for bad. It's like a technology. Technology is actually neutral. It's how the people that will make use of it.
that's very good advice. Ben, thank you for joining us, telling us all these insights, and hopefully one day we can also say that we have faster connectivity, lower cost in our internet compared to our Asian neighbors. Because as you said, if you're not connected, you're at the losing end of the stick. And thank you for joining us.
Thank
you
you,
for your
Richard.
time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Okay, and that's our show today. Thanks for watching. Keep it here on BNC, the Billionario News Channel.